What's going on, my Shadowproof people? It's your boy, Coach Jose, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. Hope everybody's doing well. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here. It's been a minute since I did a podcast. First of all, I hope everybody had an outstanding Thanksgiving and is prepping for this beautiful holiday season. It's been crazy. Got a lot going on. Got a lot of positive things going on. A lot of, life has been lifing. Basically, what I could say. You know how it is, but I'm still here. I'm still breaking through. Still trying to be shadowproof. I work on that every day. Today. First and foremost, as always, I'm gonna hit you with it. I gotta hit you with it. Please smash that like button. Share my podcast out. This will be, this is just so important. So important to just have people take a listen. You know what I'm saying? Take a listen to the stuff that we talk about, the things that we talk about. But anyway, moving on. My podcast listeners, today we're going to talk about boundaries. Don't break relationships. They build them, right? We're going to talk about boundaries, how to set them, We talk about, on this podcast, I like to talk about real stuff, real life scenarios, real things that we, not only I think people deal with. A lot of it is, a lot of it men deal with, all of that stuff. We talk about real accountability, emotional growth, and breaking cycles. And these cycles destroy families, right? These generational curses that we carry. Today we're going deep. We're going deep into boundaries, not just with your spouses or kids, but with friendships, our jobs, even boundaries within yourself, right? Holding ourselves accountable, setting those boundaries, right? People, it's funny when we talk about boundaries, right? People think boundaries is like a punishment, right? I'm rejecting you, or the person maybe setting the boundary. If it was another person to you, you feel that sense of rejection, or it's the control piece. Oh, because you say you don't want to talk about it means we can't talk about it. Or just sometimes it's creating distance, right? The definition of what a boundary, or what we've been taught a boundary is, differs, not only from person to person, but situation to situation. What mindset we are in, or that person is in at the moment, right? When we hear even the term boundary, right? And one of the important things about boundaries is not only setting them, but standing on them. Like really, really, really standing on the boundary and not going back on you. The worst thing you could do is set a boundary, and then, it's like that we gonna make this exception for this person, or this exception for this situation. No, boundaries are boundary. Yeah, there's tweaks you can make. There's things you could do, but at the end of the day, boundaries are about your peace, right? About who you are, about what you can't deal with, be it at the moment, right? We'll talk about that, or long term, right? So it's not punishment, it's not rejection, it's not control, it's not even distance, right? Boundaries actually create clarity. They give you time to think when you don't want to talk about something. They talk about respect and connection with, a partner, connection with a situation, right? It gives you that time to take a breath and kind of really marinate on the situation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, my people, smash that like button, hit that like button, share, subscribe. Really, really important. Algorithms is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Please, I even if you're just listening to it, just please hit that like button wherever you listen to it. As you know, this podcast is on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Also, it's on iHeartRadio, all that stuff. So wherever you're listening to it, please smash that like button and subscribe. So today, boundaries. Without further ado, right? What boundaries really are, right? That's important for us to know. What boundaries really are, how to set them without blowing up a relationship, how to set them with people who shut down emotionally. That's deep right there, because that's a psychological thing, right? Get into that a little later, and why boundaries make you a healthier person, a person with more clarity, and not a colder person, right? That's the myth. We look at those misconceptions of what people feel or think a boundary is, right? First of all, a boundary is always going to start with communication, right? Communicating and effective communication, right? It's not we're going to do this because it's not we're gonna forcefully or come abrasively. It's just it starts with communication. Everything we do, however we move, always starts with communication, right? Definitely important, right? Read the room. Read the room, right? How you're not going to you're not going to communicate the same with everyone. Um, Reading the room is important, so it's always going to start with communication, and that you have to understand that. Uh, Boundaries protect our relationships; they don't destroy them, right? And again, when I speak of relationships, I'm not speaking of just a relationship with a partner or a significant other. I'm talking about family members. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about all that, right? I'm talking about situations that we put ourselves in, right? Boundaries are not control, right? That's what a boundary is not. I'm not controlling the situation. I'm not threatening you with this, giving you an ultimatum. Either we do this or we do that. It's not punishment, right? What a boundary is emotional clarity, right? It's respectful communication, effective communication, and it's stability, right? Stability within ourselves. Like, all right, so let's kind of break that down a little bit. Emotional clarity. I need that clarity in order to respond. I can't respond right away, right? Sometimes it takes a minute to really understand what a person's thinking. Remember, you hear me say this all the time. We're responsible for what we say, but we're responsible for what we say, but we're not responsible for how you interpret it, right? So if we understand that, we also got to accept that, right? Because we may not be interpreting correctly or accurately the communication we're getting from the other person. So maybe we need to take a moment, and that's a boundary, taking a moment and saying, "Hey, let me think about this for a second before I'm able to respond to you." Right? That's clarity, right? You have to think about it in order to effectively respond, not responding from an emotional standpoint, but responding from a deeper standpoint, a standpoint of clarity, a point of clarity. Let me take a minute, right? It's communicating that. Communicating that respectfully was, hey, I don't want to talk about this now. Well, hey, I don't want to talk about this right now versus, hey, let me think about that for a second. Let me break that down. Or even asking the question, hey, are you feeling like this? Like, just so I'm clear, so I could break this down clearly, right? Respectful communication. We can't control how the other person is communicating to us, but we can control how we respond. Right? That's the key. That's the secret ingredient right there. Right? I'm not really too worried about, it's not that let me rephrase that. It's not that I'm not too worried. It's not that I don't care, right? I can't control how the other person feels or whatever. I can only control myself, right? I can only control my reaction. And that's important to understand that, because that shouldn't the other person or other persons or situations, their reaction should not determine your reaction. Let me say that again for you. Their or approach, right? Or their reaction or their responses should not determine your reaction, right? You could yell at me all day, doesn't mean I have to yell back. right? You could disrespect me. Doesn't mean I have to disrespect you, right? We don't know where this is coming from. We don't know the situation. You just gotta, you know, I can't control how you react. I can control how I react. That's what's important. Is understanding that I can control how I am going to react to this situation, how I am going to deal with this, and accepting that I can't control how the other person is reacting. So why do people struggle with boundaries, especially men? I'm coming from I know I try to break this down from not only a male and a female perspective. From a male perspective, I'm pretty well versed in that area, right? But I think this is a struggle for both parties, right? Um, why do we struggle so much with boundaries? Because most of us, the reality of this is most of us learn to deal with conflict in either blowing up or shutting down, right? I'm shut down. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to respond to it, or I'm going to react. I'm gonna I'm gonna blow up the room. I'm gonna blow this shit up. I'm gonna do all this, right? That's the only two ways we learn that. Nobody told us what's in the middle, right? Nobody told us how to navigate those waters. It was either war, it was either fight or flight. Perfect psychological term for it. It was either fight or flight, right? Either fight your way out or or leave, run away, right? Don't deal with it, avoid it, right? No middle ground, no negotiations, no nothing, right? Recently, I had a situation in my life where it was a decision I had to make, right? I had to make, right? It was a space I was putting myself in, and I say that by choice. I was putting myself in this space for whatever reason. I was putting myself in this space, right? I mean, could be a lot of reasons, right? And the space, it was something. It was a space I was somewhat growing out of, and growing out of because I just didn't feel like the people around me were. I don't want to say living up to my standards because that's like that sounds kind of kind of arrogant because that's not what I mean, right? Like I just mean like I have to set a boundary on what I want to be around. So like if your belief is in conflicting to my belief, um, doesn't mean I can't respect that. It just means some situations is not good for you, me in this case, mentally, right? So if I don't like, I keep it 100. I don't like fake people, right? I despise, I repulse that. I repulse fake people. If you don't like me, cool. We don't have to like each other. Right? You don't like me, cool. I used to be the one that says, if you don't like me, I'm gonna make you hate me. Now it's really like it's not even worth my time to even take it to that level. You know what I'm saying? That comes from a space of security. That comes from a lot of internal work that I do. And I'm not saying that's the case on my reaction all the time. I'm just saying like it's not even worth my time. All that tough talk and all that doesn't even that doesn't even resonate with me anymore. Like, okay, feel how you feel. You don't touch me. You don't cross that line. There's those invisible lines. We good to go. You stay on your side. I stay on my side. I'm good with that. But I'm also good with voicing that. If the situation is reverse, and what I mean by reverse, if I feel like I don't I don't deal with you, I don't mess with you, then I'm gonna say it. I don't deal with you, don't you know what I'm saying? There's no handshake, there's no I could be in certain situations I could be cordial, but there's no fake love. Right? I don't like that space. That space is I don't want that. I want either we real about it and we went through something and we could overcome it. We could talk about it, we could build from it, or not. And if it's not, then you stay on your side, stay on my side. I'm good. If you don't like me, don't that. None of that, right? And I could have dealt with the situation in multiple ways, right? But I decided to hear hear it out, right? Hear everybody, and all I saw was fakeness. Right, and people could have a story about blah blah blah, whatever they want. You know that neither moves me here, neither here nor there. Right. I gave myself closure with the end decision, and the end result that I did because for me, I saw everything I needed to see. I gave the opportunity. I set the boundaries. I communicated respectfully. I communicated from a place where it gradually escalated from respectful communication to okay, let's build from this to okay, we could fix this to then it started becoming disrespectful. So it started becoming like I don't fuck with you. Like, and that's it. And this was to a specific individual within that space. And then I saw the surrounding a couple, not all. I'm not going to say all, but the surrounding individuals that were just not real, not standing. You know, one of the things that for me as a man, my definition of being a man is standing to your belief. You know, and if you feel something, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't hug me if you don't fuck with me. Don't dap me up. Don't none of that. Don't say you gonna do something and not. That's not a man. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how tough you are or think you are and all that. That's not a man. You got to stand on what you say. And if you steady talking about people behind their back, you know, think about it. I want you guys to think about it. If people are talking to you about people, what you think they doing about when you not around? You not special. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, not to go down a long tangent, my point was I had to set a boundary. And the boundary was I had to eliminate myself from the situation because it was not good for me anymore, right? It showed me what I needed to see. There was nothing more left to be done. Did I blow up at the end? Yeah, I could have. I mean, it could have went worse. But I said what I said. I stood on my word as a man, and I stand on it today. Period. I didn't make my decision based off what somebody else wanted me to do, or what somebody else thought, or an ulterior motive. I stood 10 toes down and stood on that decision. So, but I did all the framework behind that, right? And this is where I'm going with the boundaries. Is I set calm goals and expectations. I pushed for a betterment. I communicated effectively. Did it gradually get ineffective? Of course, because I'm human. You know, did I go from let's try this, let's work on this to fuck you, we need to do this, like stop being this and not, yeah, I did. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. But the reality is that I did that because I was just done. Like I was just like, bro, like, all this fakeness was just consuming me. And I started realizing how much it was affecting me. So I share this story with you because I need you to really understand. We never understood that middle ground. That's something that we had to learn because we weren't taught, right? That middle ground of either blow up or shut down, right? There's a lot of people that are just do things. I'm not dealing with it. It'll work itself out. No, it's not going to work itself out unless you put in the work. That's not how things work. You know what I'm saying? Oh, things will come to light. No, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we got to work. We got to work on it. Right? We got to work on communication. We got to work on betterment. We got to work on these things. Right? So it's about calm firmness. Right? That's what that middle ground is. Calm firmness. Standing on your boundary, standing on what you feel, and moving forward. So how do we do that, right? An example, like just say you're setting a boundary with a partner, right? I'm not going to yell, but I am going to walk away and return when we're calm, right? So if this is the only way you could communicate right now, meaning the other person or yourself, you feel yourself getting to that point. Hey, we're going to stop this conversation. Hey, you mind if we stop this conversation? Neither one of us are in the right headspace. Let's think about this later. And that's really, really difficult to do. I struggle with that. I do. I'm better at it than I was, but I haven't perfected that, right? It's about understanding the communication, right? Because sometimes we communicate to people and they hear us, they listen to us, but they don't. This is another problem I have, right? When I communicate, but it's not reciprocated, right? So I'm clear on what I'm showing, but it's not reciprocated. So then I gotta break that down, right? I gotta dissect that and say, okay, well maybe they're not capable of it, or maybe I'm not communicating effectively, or maybe or whatever it is, right? I don't. It depends. That varies situation to situation. Um, but it's setting that boundary of hey, I'm not yelling, or setting that boundary with your partner about what you want to do versus what they want to do. All that it's about the inner peace and how we go through that, right? It's same thing with your family, right? Family's a little deep, and it depends on what part of that spectrum you what part of that spectrum you grew up in, right? Sometimes you have people that just disassociate themselves with their family. You have people that do too much, even though there's a lot of toxic relationships, a lot of toxic issues, a lot of internal things that have been hidden for years to months to whatever, decades. Um, so it depends on what side of the spectrum you're on, but at the end of the day, it's having that clear, concise communication, saying, "Hey, you know, you heard me talk about this before. Like, I put people in their particular quote unquote, I call them boxes, right, or spaces, right. I have the box where these are people, and are very few, extremely few. These are people I can really trust. They support me. I support them. And yeah, we have our issues, but we always find a way to communicate around them. And it hasn't always been like this, right? It's been a lot of there's toxicity, but there has also been a lot of great communication to this point, right? And then I have the space where, okay, you just doesn't mean I won't deal with you. It just means I know how to deal with you, right? I know when to deal with you. Meaning, when you know, we talk about transactional relationships, right? If somebody only calls you when they need something, that's not a friendship. That's a transaction. If they have an ulterior motive, that's not a friendship. That's a transaction, right? If a person calls you and starts off with, "Hey, how you doing? I was just checking on you," but then goes into what they need. No, the original call was about what they need. They just buffered it with whatever they started the conversation with. That's not real shit. You know what I'm saying? Um, and and those are the things we gotta think about when we setting those boundaries. Do we want to deal with that? Right? I don't always have to be available for those conversations, be it family or friends. I don't have to, I'm not obligated to make myself available, right, for those conversations, right? I'm not going to drop everything because, whatever the situation may be, right? Or just saying, hey, I'm just to the point where I listen to stuff, I listen to things, I hear things, but at the end of the day, I really don't care. Like, if it doesn't affect me directly, it doesn't affect my family, it is what it is. I mean, you're more than welcome to tell me about it. You're more than welcome to talk to me about it, but I don't let it affect me mentally or emotionally. Like, I'm not in that headspace, right? That's a boundary. I decide, that's a choice that I made not to deal with that bullshit. Because when you engage in it, how many people have called you, and maybe some of you have noticed this, or maybe you could reflect back and notice this, or maybe you never tried it. But think about a person that calls you all the time, and everything they call you about is always about drama, right? It's always about some gossip, some negative, some energy, some negative shit, right? And then obviously if you engage in the conversation, you entertain the shit, the conversation goes long, right? Because they want that sense, they want misery loves company. They want somebody to be in that space, in that conversation with. And then if you don't, right, if you're like, short answering, yeah, oh, the typical, oh shit, word, really? You know what I'm saying? Like those type of answers. What happens? Hey, I got another call, I gotta go, whatever. They disengage in the conversation because you're not entertaining it, right? So I mean, that's the type of shit I be on. I hear it, okay, cool. Yeah, that was entertaining. That was kind of you know, almost comical, but at the end of the day, really don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't affect me. Healthy boundaries in these spaces upgrade your circle because it eventually weeds out the fake. Right? Nobody really wants fake love. And that's the part of setting boundaries is why do we accept that? Why do we accept fake love is better than no love? Why do we accept that? Right? Why do we accept, a transactional relationship of me getting fake love, fraudulent attention? And when I say fraudulent attention is because when we're getting attention because the other person wants something from us. That's not genuine. That's not real. Why would you settle for that in your life? Right? Why would you settle for fake shit in your life? Like set that boundary where you don't want to deal with it. And when you set these healthy boundaries and communicating, I'm not saying everybody in your lives or in my life is on this. I just know how to separate. Like Tupac said, you heard me say it a couple podcasts ago. Just because me and you ain't cool doesn't mean I don't want to see you eat. You just can't eat at my table. You feel what I'm saying? This is the space you're in. This is the box you're in. You get what I'm saying? I don't want to see you fail. I just don't, I don't care if you grow. Like that's not my focus. I got bigger things to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not being cocky. I said it. I've said this the last couple of weeks, and I really dissected that, that term. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I always thought that was a real arrogant term, but I used it a lot, and not because it was arrogant, because my interpretation is, how are you growing? Right? If you're in a room full of people that don't think, I think like you is a poor example, but if you're in a room with people that you're further ahead, right? And you're not elevating from it, right? You're not learning something new. You guys are not building together. And what are you doing? Wasting time. And there's so many people in this world today that prefer those type of friendships, right? I've seen coaches. You guys know I used to coach baseball for a long time, and I've seen coaches that literally pick their staff based off yes men. Why? Because they don't want pushback. Right? They don't want pushback. They basically want more people around so they can get more done based off what they want. They don't want to hear your idea. They don't want to hear you. And not just coaches, but this many people in life, right? Coaches, leaders, managers. And I had a mentor. I actually told one of my close friends, my brother, I had a mentor years ago that said, don't hire people off your strengths, hire them off your weaknesses. And I was like, damn, like that's deep right there, right? Because when you hire people off your weaknesses, you're elevating whatever it is you're doing, right? Or when you surround yourself with things that you may not, that maybe are a weakness to you, right? You're elevating because you're learning how to adapt to that and you're moving forward, right? So some could say, oh, that's kind of that's the same thing as a transactional relationship. But how is that, transactional? When I think of transactional, and everybody's interpretation or definition may be different, but when I think of transactional is I'm gonna do this for you because you're doing this for me. I have an ulterior motive. I need something from you, so I'll do minimal for you, but I need this. You know what I'm saying? Or there's a like a what is it? Uh man, I forget the word or the term uh when I'm only gonna do this if you do this, right? I can't remember the term right now. So basically, having those people in your life that drain you, that disrespect you, that manipulate you, or take advantage of you, that's transactional, right? We have to we have to we have to set that boundary to not accept that and stand on it, right? If you have a person that calls you and every time they're criticizing your judgment, or criticizing you or manipulating you, then that's not a friend, right? Maybe you need to have a conversation, tell them how you feel, because they may not even realize that's the reality. They may not even realize that they're doing it. It might just be natural for them because that's how they grew up, hearing that from their people. So many times. I mean, you know, I deal with things different now. Like sometimes I don't address things on the spot because I know I'm not gonna react calmly or positively because this person might have offended me or might have upset me. Right. So I let it marinate a little bit. I find a way to channel that energy in a different direction. But also thinking about, how friends support, right? Support you as a person. Do they support you like you would support them? And by, how you guys support each other. And this goes from partners to friends to all that. How do they support? Because the reality, think about this. And I've learned this, and I for real have learned this in especially in my new endeavors in life. With this business, the mental health business, and you guys hear me talk about it all the time. This business is something that's near and dear to me because it's helped me grow as a man. And other business ventures that I had in my life, and even my son starting his own little thing. How I'm kind of we're doing that together. But think about that. Think about you guys have either talked about starting a business or have started a business or a venture, something in your life. And everybody, and what happens? Friends are the worst people to deal with. The worst. And I say quote unquote friends, right? The worst. Because they either want to hook up or they don't even support you at all. Right? Oh yeah, I got you. Never hear from them again. Type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just crazy, right? But they'll do the same thing or support a stranger or pay a stranger or do all that and triple whatever and not even think twice, not even blink at it, right? So think about that, right? Think about the people that you put in your life for that, right? And I've learned this, and this is I'm not throwing jabs. I'm just saying what I've experienced, what I've experienced. There's very, very little people that support their friends, that support, what you're gonna do. And those are people, again, it's not that I'm not fucking with you. It's just that I see where you at. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even the type of person, I don't even be on the type of timing when it comes to that situation. I'm not gonna do you like you do me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm better than that. I'm secure in who I am as a man. I get it. Okay, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? But I got now. You just graduated to another box. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? Because it's and sometimes, listen, I want to make this clear too. For a person in my life that I have set a boundary for, that has what I call graduated to this next box, and believe me, graduation to the next box is not always an upgrade, right? Sometimes it's okay, you in a different box because this is how I gotta move with you. It's not before I have like deep conversation and like say like, yo, this is how I feel about X scenario, X situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I don't just do that and just do that. I have the conversation, right? Because I think it's important and it's only fair, especially with family members, with partners, with friends. It's important to have those conversations because then they're not blindsided. They don't, you know what I'm saying? People are going to make up whatever story they're going to want to make up at, you know, in the long run, if that's the type of person they are. But at the end of the day, you doing it for you and understanding, okay, at least I tried to communicate my feelings or my situation, right? So, you know, setting those boundaries is important. Setting those boundaries within our jobs, right? Time boundaries, right? Stress boundaries, self-respect in environments, right? Being acknowledged, understanding, creating that work-life balance to, listen, time is something we don't get back. That's just reality. We don't get back, right? Time, you just said, it's gone. It's yesterday's newspaper, right? So, and cherish the moments with your family because they're here today and gone tomorrow, and tomorrow is never fucking promised. You never know what tomorrow got a hold of you. And setting these boundaries, believe me, is not only gonna give you the time to spend with the people that are important, but setting these boundaries is also not giving the energy to things or people that ain't worth that. Think about the time you spend gossiping about people. Think about the time you spend talking to a negative person. Think about the time that you spend in all this shit that means nothing and you taking away from somebody that could use your emotional help or you could have an opportunity to grow, to expand, to you know how many opportunities. Think about if we were to look back on how many opportunities we have missed because we gave energy to shit that didn't mean anything. Think about how disappointed you would be. And I'm talking about opportunities that you may not even know about because you're just spending so much time on this. You know what I'm saying? It's a waste of time. Or, you know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to think about that because, you know, time is something you never get back. And setting these boundaries, especially in the workplace, don't let it stress you out. Because I'm going to tell you something. Something happens to you today, you're replaceable. You're replaceable. Somebody will be in your seat within days, weeks, but mostly days. Somebody will be in that seat complaining about what you didn't used to do. That's the crazy shit, right? Alleging that you know talking bad about you. At the end of the day, that's just how life is. It's how life works. You know, your presence is not felt until your presence is not appreciated until your absence is felt. That's a deep quote right there. Your presence is not appreciated until your absence is felt. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when the stories start, the allegations start. But you don't need to worry about that. You just need push forward, set these boundaries, and stand on your word as a person. Set those boundaries for your happiness. Right? Boundaries within yourself. Now this one's gonna hit deep. This one's gonna hit deep. Sometimes the biggest boundaries we need are within ourselves. The habits that we tolerate, bad habits, the pain we avoid, unhealthy coping that we run into. So the pain we avoid, not facing these pains and really analyzing and acknowledging and how can I fix this? Where is this coming from? First understanding where it comes from, then understanding how to try to fix it. And then dealing with how you cope with it. Think about that. If you were to think about how you cope with your anger or cope with your reactions, think about a coping mechanism that you may use. And think and figure let me know if it's positive or if it works, right? If it doesn't work, then why are we still doing it? And if it's positive, then why are we still doing it? Ask yourself that question, right? A boundary, an example of a boundary within yourself is saying, I'm not numbing myself. I'm not shutting down. I'm not avoiding anymore. I'm facing it. I'm facing this shadow. I'm facing these demons. I'm letting this past go. I'm not soaking. I'm not dwelling. I'm not, none of that. None of that, right? Those are choices that we make. We deal with shit because we choose to, not because we have to. There's no such thing as that. Believe me, I'm living proof of that in many aspects of my life, in many situations in my life. And I still, to this day, I'm here to tell you, still to this day, because I told you I'm not completely healed. I'm just like y'all, right? Trying to face my demons one at a time, having conversations one-on-ones. We're not having group settings. We having one-on-one settings because I got some deep shit, right? And saying, I'm not avoiding this anymore. Sitting in that boundary and facing that demon and understanding this is how I feel, this is what I need, this is the boundary I need to set. Right? Because then you got the whole different spectrum of the people who shut down. Why do we shut down? That's something that we've learned, right? Fight or flight. No in between. I'm gonna shut down. How do you deal with that? How do you approach that? How do you stay calm and firm? Understanding that maybe that moment might not be the time to talk about it with the person, to discuss it with the person, but definitely tabling it for a second, right? Because when somebody shuts down, it's usually fear, not disrespect. They don't know how to talk, so they avoid it. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to communicate. They can't articulate their feelings, so they just shut down. So it's not being disrespectful, it's just they shutting down. You don't, so how do you set a boundary with shutdown behavior? You don't attack them. Right? You communicate with clarity and calmness. Hey, I know you may not want to talk about this, or you may let's try to table this for now and see if you could think about a way you could talk. We could talk about it so we could get through this situation. Right? So I need to acknowledge I need to take accountability for my part in whatever it was, because we do got to take accountability for everything we deal with in our life. We play a part. We're either an enabler, or we're part of the problem. We're always part of the problem, but there's different versions of how we are part of the problem. You could be a part of the problem. You could be enabling the problem, right? Normalizing the problem, right? It's not okay. I understand telling them, I understand this is maybe uncomfortable. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm not here to beef with you. I'm here to work with you. I'm here to communicate with you effectively and listen to you. We don't have to even have to solve or dissect this completely today. But we got to communicate so we could both understand both sides of our situation. I'm gonna let you, I'm gonna give you, maybe telling them I'll give you time to process this, and we'll table this for now, right? If we avoid conversations completely, that's when these relationships suffer. We don't run, we work through it, even if it's slow. One thing at a time. I tell my clients all the time, it's crazy because I learned this, in the corporate in the corporate world, but I tell my clients all the time, or my Shadowproof army, right? The one-on-ones I have, and even people in my men's group, is to set SMART goals. Right? If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a great breakdown on how to attain a bigger goal. I guys told you I read. I haven't read in a while. I need to get back to that. It's really peaceful for me. And I love learning. I love history. I love learning things. I love learning concepts, which is obviously why I'm so big on the psychological part of all of this. But um, grit, right? Is your grit, your how you going to react to something, right? Growth mindset versus closed mindset, right? Or fixed mindset. Sorry, growth or fixed mindset, right? It's the difference between failing a test and saying, okay, I need to learn so I don't fail again versus I need to make it easier. And that's what I say when we're enabling, when we're setting a boundary. I had this, I talked about this with a couple of friends of mine. I actually said this in my son's sports banquet one time years ago. I think it was his 8th grade banquet. I read a story about a baseball coach. It was like a coaching seminar, a coaching convention, right? Baseball. It was coaches there from T-ball all the way up to the professionals. And this old man gets up there. I can't remember the coach's name. With a big home plate around his neck, right, on the chain. Everybody was looking at him like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? He asked every level what size home plate was, right? Every level from T-ball to the professionals. He asked them, what size is home plate? Excuse me. And every level said the same thing, 17 inches wide, right? 17 inches wide. From every level, from T-ball all the way up to the pros, 17 inches wide. And he asked, well, why do we expand that strike zone? Right, depending on level. You got the babies, the T-ballers. Oh, we're gonna get closer. We're gonna throw the ball and or act like he hit it and let him get on base. Right, the participation trophy syndrome that drives me crazy. I'm sorry for those of you who believe it. I know this is not for that, but that participation thing drives me nuts. Right, or even older, we span the strike zone, expand. We don't force the work or the knowledge or the learning, right? We make it simpler. We simplify it so a person can get that self-recognition, self-gratification. When you look at social media, right, that instant 45 seconds. People don't even watch the news anymore. Whatever's going on in social media, that's what it is, right? So not to say that the news or the media is better, but I'm just saying, right? 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 15 seconds of self gratification. That's how I belong. We can get down that psychological path or later. But moral of the story is that that's part of the life that we lead with enabling bad behavior, because we simplify. We got to stand on that boundary and not expand the strike zone. Right? We got to explain that you're making, not to say that you set a boundary today and you expect this person or persons or situation to change. Is we talked about this, not just blatantly disrespecting you, right? But if the behavior continues, then we gotta realize that, hey, now I gotta stand on my boundary, and I'm just going. You done graduated to another box. You get what I'm saying? So we can't avoid conversations, right? You're not forcing anybody to open up. You're making sure communication happens. Maybe not now, maybe not at this moment, but eventually it has to happen. It's the only way we grow from this. Boundaries, again, why do boundaries protect our relationships? Right? Again, relationships as a whole, not just with significant others or partners, as a whole. Build clarity. Clarity destroys confusion, and confusion causes conflict, because we're assuming this is what it is. we're assuming you're too busy, you don't care, you're not listening, you're this. No, so boundaries is protection. It's not rejection. We're not rejecting each other. We're trying to protect each other's space. We're trying to communicate so we can be better in this situation with our families, with extended families, with friends, with workplaces, with everything, with ourselves. Because you can't forget about that. You can't forget about that. You got to set the boundary within yourself. Those boundaries are important, and standing and holding yourself accountable. And maybe if you don't have the willpower, and that's okay, because we don't hold willpower is a bitch. It's hard. Maybe you need to talk to somebody and say, hey, there's a boundary I set for myself. Hold me accountable. Because you have to hold yourself accountable. And if you can't hold yourself accountable, you got to grab on to somebody and say, hey, I need you to hold me accountable for this for a couple of weeks so I get it programmed in my head. This is what I got to do. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you some reflection questions to think about. Y'all can post it. Y'all don't be never posting in the chat for those of you listening. I don't know. Post a question. Post the answer or hit me up, CoachJose1979@gmail.com. Or actually, my new email is Jose@fortifiedwithin.com. Jose@fortifiedwithin.com. But you could also email CoachJose79@gmail. Hit me up. We could do a one-on-one. We could do a men's group. We could talk, anyway. And let's talk about some reflection questions. Where do you need to set a boundary in your life right now? Who in your life drains you because you never set one, because you've never set a boundary? And what boundary can you set peacefully this week? And execute it. Don't just, slip up. Because boundaries, hey, listen, boundaries are not walls. They're healthy agreements. They don't cut people off. They help relationships heal. Think about that. So that's what I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Again, it's been just a crazy couple weeks. I know it's been a while since I said it. My next podcast, it's gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna try to do something different. There's obviously still going to be the audio where I can post on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that. But I'm also going to do a video podcast, which is just going to be on YouTube. So there's going to be actual video of myself either alone or I'm going to have a guest. So I'm working on that now. It's going to be real life. I'm going to have some good guests on there. I have some good guests in mind. If any of you would like to be a part of it, reach out to me again, Coach CoachJose79@gmail or Jose@fortifiedwithin.com. Let's discuss. Or just leave a comment here, and I'll send you a message, and we'll get we'll talk about it. Right? I want to make it real, raw, and uncut. That's how I'm gonna stay. I'm not trying to do all the fancy shit. I'm not. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is real life shit. And I think I love all the fancy intros people got and all that stuff, and that's cool. But I'm on the raw and uncut stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the real life, no editing. You hearing it as it's coming. You feel what I'm saying? If you guys agree with that, let me know. Like it up. If you don't, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna. I'm going to work on that. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you, all those that you listen to me every time I'm on, all those of you that listen to me every time you get that alert. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. Thank you for listening to this and understand that when I do these things, these things not only help. I know I'm helping you guys, but also in this process, I'm helping myself mentally because I deal with things every day. So when I say you're not alone out there dealing with things, I mean that because I deal with things also. You know what I'm saying? So realize that I do this and I'm here where I'm at, with my degree in psychology and all these things all these trainings and things that I've done is because I really want to leave that behind and touch as many people as I can, help as many people as I can, because I didn't always have that outlook, but this really does help me too. It helps me realize and kind of guide, kind of guide my day to day. So believe me, I'm speaking from a place deeply in my heart. I'm secure as a man, is why I can say the things I say. I have no problem being vulnerable. So I say that to say, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate those of you guys that constantly listen and support the podcast. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great day. If there's not a podcast before, the holidays, I wish you guys the happy holidays with your family. Set those boundaries, answer those questions, and you guys stay shadowproof. Anything you need, hit me up. You guys have a great day, and thank you for listening to your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, your boy Coach Jose. You guys have a great rest of your evening.